2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is one back. Walk him off. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined once again by Daniel Starkand as we go through some qualifying offer decisions that the Dodgers have to make. And next up, we've got Andrew Heaney. And now this is an interesting one because I know the reaction most people are going to get when they hear this question is, are you freaking kidding me? Andrew Heaney, 1 year, $19.65 million. What are we even talking about? But Daniel, the argument that I would make is that there's a little bit of, this is where you take a little bit of risk reward. I think there's a gamble to be made if the Dodgers want to when it comes to Andrew Heaney. He's coming off of a great season. So before I explain what I'm getting at, I'm curious, do you think it's crazy that we're talking about Andrew Heaney as a qualifying offer guy?
I wouldn't say it's crazy, but I'd also say I wouldn't give him one. Yeah. I just think if obviously he had a great season, there's no denying that, especially when you compare it to, you know, the seasons prior. But I also think there's a lot of other factors in play here that may make me lean towards no, specifically his second half. If you look at his last 10 starts, he had around a 4.6 ERA. You know, the issues that we always thought he had was giving up the long ball. And that's kind of what we saw in the second half. You know, 13 home runs allowed in around 40 innings. That's obviously a lot of home runs. So as good as he was in the first half, and there was a lot of time missed in there, so I think he deserves some benefit of the doubt. I just think it was a little bit of lightning in the bottle in the first half where he was basically unhittable. I don't know how sustainable that is. I think he could be solid. Like, he definitely strikes out a lot of guys, which is a trait you want. But at the same time, I just think 19 million is probably a little expensive for a guy who in theory could be really good, but also could be really bad just because of his characteristics as a pitcher.
Totally. And could be injured. That's the other thing that he has dealt with is injuries, and he missed a lot of time for the Dodgers through just 72 innings. So to be clear, I am not making Andrew Heaney a qualifying offer, but here's why I think this is interesting. You're looking at a guy in Heaney who is 31 and a half years old. He'll not turning 32 until June of next year, who's coming off the best season of his career. You know, we talked about it, 3.1 ERA, 3.39 expected ERA. You look at the StatCast, 97th percentile in strikeout rate, 96th percentile in whiff rate, 78th percentile in walk rate. So he's got some characteristics that you like there. I'm curious if the Dodgers would extend it to him, what they think the chances are that he would accept it. Because if there's a chance that Heaney is looking at his career and saying, this is probably my best season, I'm coming off a year when maybe I can go out there and get a 4-year, 3-year deal that's a lot lower in the AAV category, but could I go get, you know, numbers we talked about in our Tyler Anderson video? Could Heaney go out and get 3 years at $30 million, at $32 million, 4 years maybe even at like $40 million? And if he could, would he rather take a longer-term deal, give himself some stability, give himself the extra 15 to 20 million bucks, and say, I know the AAV's lower, but this way I know I'm set for the rest of my life. I know I'm set, period. Now, maybe he's already set. But so for me, if the Dodgers were to extend the qualifying offer, it would be a gamble in saying, we hope you don't sign this, because if you go out and sign a 3 or 4 year deal somewhere else, then we get a draft pick back. Then we get some compensation for it. That would be the argument. If the Dodgers were interested in signing Heaney, then maybe they extend the qualifying offer and try to negotiate from there. I think that's a little risky because the number is so high that now you're negotiating at like a $14, $15 million a year probably price tag for a guy in Heaney. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but if the Dodgers were to offer it, I would make the case that it's probably a bet on trying to get some draft compensation for a guy that you're pretty confident is going to say no to the deal.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. And I think the one issue they might run into there is that if Heaney is looking for that long-term deal, who's going to give it to him knowing they have to give up a draft pick to do so as well. So I think if he does have that qualifying offer attached to him, that would kind of hurt him in free agency, because typically you don't really see teams want to give up a valuable draft pick for just like, you know, a middle of the rotation starter. Like, they want the ace, they want the star. That's fine. Like, teams won't have a problem giving up the draft pick for, you know, Trey Turner or Aaron Judge or whatever. But for Andrew Heaney, then it becomes a conversation, just because This like, what are you giving up, like a second-round draft pick or whatever? Like that could be a legit prospect right there. So not only are you giving Andrew Heaney a long-term, 3-year deal or whatever, you're also giving up what could be, a top prospect to do so. So I think I think you're right in the sense that Andrew Heaney is looking for that longer-term deal just to capitalize off the year he just had. But I also think if he has that qualifying offer attached to him, he might be inclined to take it just because that it could hurt him in free agency if he doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. Looking up the compensation, if the contract is less than $50 million, the pick that they forfeit is after the second round. But still, that's a sizable investment. So ultimately, they don't offer him the qualifying offer for all of the reasons we just laid out. I'm just trying to think through if they do, what might the thought process be. So
I'd say they do. I agree that they're not going to offer him the qualifying offer, but I don't think that means he's not coming back. Like, I still think he's someone the Dodgers will try to bring back on a cheaper 1-year deal, a cheaper 2-year deal, depending on how things play out in free agency. Like, I wouldn't rule out him returning to the Dodgers just because they don't offer him the qualifying offer.
Totally agree. We talked on our free agency preview, and I think we kind of all fell into Heaney is your Tyler Anderson insurance. If Anderson leaves, it doesn't accept the qualifying offer, then Heaney is the guy that's a cheaper version, less trustworthy, I would say, from an innings perspective, but still an option. So that's Daniel. I'm Jeff. As always, let us know what you think in the comments below. Any chance Andrew Heaney is back with the Dodgers? Any chance it's on the qualifying offer? Or do you agree with where I started, that this is a crazy conversation and what the heck are we even doing here? We appreciate you joining us. As always, enjoy the rest of your day. And of course, go Dodgers.